What is up, you beauties? My name is BatchatBegins and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about the frequency and unexcitability of the Battle Pass. Most focus is going to be put today towards this new tank, the Triumphant, that's coming out within the next Battle Pass. This tank is basically just a Type 58, right? It doesn't have the top gun that the T-34-85 does. It's got the second to top gun, and overall the stats on it are pretty mediocre. It will have 8 degrees of gun depression, which will be nice, but that'll literally be the only thing that's different from the Victory, which is another tank you can get for pretty much the same price. And there's nothing remarkable about it, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. But before we get into the rant, the main thing we're going to talk about right now is just some of the stats. Obviously, it's going to have just about 1,000 hit points. It's going to have pretty much your standard T-34-85 armor. DPM, pretty standard for the tier, just about 18,500 damage. Kind of trash AP rounds, decent APCR rounds with pretty standard damage across the board, 200 and 170. Aim time is going to be not great, and the dispersion is also not that fantastic. So overall, a fairly unremarkable tank. The visual things you'll see, there will be leaves coming off the back when we hop into a game, and the star glows when you start to go faster. So we'll just go ahead and hop into a tier 6 match. Now, the problem I have with the frequency of Battle Passes is that Wargaming does not have the ability to continually keep making like new and interesting tanks, so they more or less are just copying previous tanks and putting them back in the game and selling you those tanks for money at this point. We've had the ARL be copied, we've had the M6 be copied, we've had... The only one that I would say would actually be worth the money would be that VK-28 copy, the Agent, because that tank actually ended up getting more gun depression and therefore was just a better tank. This, the only thing it's getting is 1 extra degree of gun depression, and it's not going to matter that much. As you can see, we're playing on Mines here, and Mines has got the new visual rework, and it looks pretty darn decent, I would say. Looks like their Explorer is just going to go ahead and go straight up, and he's done. But overall, I'm not happy with the way Wargaming has completely focused their tanks on the Battle Pass. It's uninteresting. It's incredibly boring. And I think they really ought to rework the way they do things with the Battle Pass. Overall, I think that one thing they could do is they could start having it to where the Battle Pass lasted a longer amount of time, and the rewards were better. Because overall, the rewards for the Battle Pass, while they might be good for free-to-play players, they don't really benefit any of the players that have been in the game for a long time who just want to see interesting and unique tanks. I would say one thing that me and Droodles and a couple of other people have talked about is the fact that they could put into the game reward tanks at higher tiers. You could have a 6-month-long Battle Pass, and at the very end, you could get a tier 9. I know that sounds great for a lot of people, and it sounds really interesting to me especially. I've always thought that might be a pretty stellar idea on their part, if they could make that happen. And honestly, it just sounds like a more interesting thing to do. To be fair, we're just going to go ahead and focus out this scavenger while he's messing around here. But the thing is, like, these copy-paste tanks are not where it's at. Why not give us something interesting? Like, let us go ahead and try and get a K91. Or let us go ahead and try and get a Camp Panzer 70. That would be really, really cool. That would be a lot more fun than, you know, grinding to level 35, getting these copy-paste tanks. Even though they might look aesthetically pleasing, like, this is not a bad looking tank. It's boring. Overall, it's just not what the game should be encouraging players to get. You should honestly be encouraging them to get the detectory versions of these tanks. Just make this a camo for the T-34-85. That wouldn't be a bad thing. You could even put that at the beginning of a Battle Pass, or maybe the end of a Battle Pass. And then conversely, you could let the end of the battle pass, you know, at the very end of the 6 months or 3 months or whatever you end up choosing, you could let that be a tier 9 tank or a tier 10 premium. And the people that, you know, push all the way through and grind all those tiers could get themselves a well-deserved tank. Overall, you can see I'm playing with the skin of the Triumphant on the Victory, and the tank does fine. It's done 2,500 damage. We have a first-class, top gun, high caliber. Like, it's a decent tank, and the Triumphant will be a decent tank as well. But is it worth it to keep getting these tanks that are already basically in the game that you can get for free? The Victory's the Victory's not actually that different to the T-34-85 that's in the tech tree. And a lot of these tanks that have come out, like the Icebreaker, the Eraser, and especially, I mean, this tank when it comes into the game, they're not that different. And they won't make that much of a difference from the regular tanks. So I just would like to see Wargaming introduce some new stuff and potentially let us grind some higher tier tanks, and that should benefit the community as a whole better. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. My name has been BatchatBegins. All of the relevant links will be in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next one.